Michaela is not happy with her fans this week, and she is calling them out after they expressed some concern for her husband, Cody. We also have to talk about Michaela meeting Jaclyn Hill, her brand launch failing in Canada, and why some of Michaela's content is now being labeled as AI generated. It's a mess, so let's get into it. This year, Michaela opened up about her husband Cody's struggles with addiction and let her fans know the obstacles her and Cody were dealing with and why she was posting so many videos being upset and crying last year. She revealed that she had to kick Cody out of their family home, he had to get his own apartment, until one day he finally said he was ready to go to rehab.
My husband Cody is in rehab, and I'm ready to talk about it. I knew Cody was an addict when I met him. When I met him, he was living in sober living, and he had just gotten out of rehab. He moved from Nevada to Massachusetts to go to treatment here, and the only reason he stayed is because he met me. It became so hard in our home, and I had to make the really difficult decision to remove Cody from our home. He ended up getting his own apartment, and I said, you need to figure it out. And on March 2nd, 2025, I get the phone call from Cody. And he says, I'm done, and I'm going to rehab.
Cody completed his time in rehab, and he's since moved back home with Michaela to their brand new house and has apparently been doing really well ever since. A lot of fans appreciated Michaela being vulnerable and sharing something so personal with them. But it also opened her up to a whole new level of backlash. Michaela still drinks on occasion, and whenever she's seen with alcohol, the comments are always calling her out for not being a good influence on Cody. The backlash surrounding Michaela got worse recently after she threw a housewarming party and got drunk with all of her friends in front of Cody, recorded it, and then posted it on TikTok.
We of course had drinks, and we definitely took advantage. I had all my friends, family, co-workers, everyone you could think of came to the party. And if you're curious how it ended, well, so am I, because these videos were on my phone, and I don't really know how we got to this point. Even Chorizo was very confused. These are the moments, though, that you don't forget. I had the time of my life, and I will never forget it.
All the previous times Michaela got called out for drinking, she was either at an event or on a trip away from Cody, so when people saw her and her friends directly drinking in front of him, they weren't too happy about that. People were absolutely losing their minds when they thought Michaela had wine in her wine rack inside the house, to which Michaela denied it being wine, so this really set fans off in the comments. We had people writing, how does Cody deal with the drinking around him while being in recovery? Kinda feel bad for Cody being around everyone drinking. And Michaela responded and said, go where any free man can go. Well, one viewer took things a bit too far and made a video being like, we need to save Cody.
This post is for Cody. Let's save Cody. Hashtag save Cody from Michaela. What she did was disrespectful in his own home.
Michaela responded to this video, and let's just say she was not very happy. Michaela said Cody has been sober for months now, and he's proud of himself for being able to get to this place where he can still be around alcohol and not give in to drinking it.
We had a housewarming party. I had alcohol at the housewarming party. Let's talk about it. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about things that Cody and I do in our marriage. Rightfully so. I posted on the internet. But there's a couple things I need you to consider. Cody's been sober for 6 months. Do you ever consider that Cody himself is extremely proud of himself that he was able to have a housewarming party with alcohol and coexist at this party with no desire to drink? Did you ever consider that? And you're not gonna tell Cody what is too soon.
She also went on a bit of a rant saying, Cody's my husband. I asked him if he would be okay with alcohol being around and didn't just bring my friends around to drink at a party before speaking with him.
Do you think I just do things without talking to my husband? Don't you think we had a conversation weeks leading up to this party about what beverages would or would not be served? What's disrespectful is you assuming that I just said Cody and brought a bunch of alcohol into the house without having a conversation with him. Are you serious?
She also talked about how good of a wife she's been to Cody and how she stood beside him during his recovery.
He brings me flowers and cards, and he tells me he loves me every 5 seconds. That's because I'm a good wife, okay? I will stand on my toes about that, okay? I stood by Cody's side when he was at the worst, lowest moment of his life. I stayed. just like he has stayed for me. So the fact that there was alcohol at this patty, no one gives a except for the internet, who's blowing it out of proportion. And I saw another post about how Cody was like on the couch in his phone, feeling uncomfortable in the situation. Wrong-o! It was like 1 a.m., bro. We were cleaning up, we were having fun, he was just chilling.
And most of the comments are in agreement with Michaela on this one. One person said, 9 years sober, it's no one's responsibility but mine to stay sober. Recovery is not about being in a bubble. It's about coexisting and knowing your boundaries. Another person wrote, also, Cody doesn't live in a bubble. If he goes to a restaurant, there are people drinking right next to him. Is he supposed to stay inside forever? Of course, there are still people that disagree with Michaela drinking around Cody, but like she said, it's not anyone else's marriage but her and Cody's. They're adults. If he's okay with it, then I guess he's okay with it. Now, speaking of Cody's recovery, because of everything Michaela has dealt with, from gaining popularity so fast, being the biggest beauty influencer on TikTok, to dealing with her husband's addiction issues, a lot of people compare Michaela to Jaclyn. Michaela and Jaclyn have been supporting each other in their comments for a while now. And last weekend, Michaela announced that she was finally going to meet Jaclyn at an event.
I have to be totally transparent though, I have put off meeting Jaclyn Hill for years. Because her and I have essentially the same story. Very similar stories in our personal life and in our, relationships. And, I just think I will cry if I meet tonight.
And Michaela did end up meeting Jaclyn. She recorded it for TikTok, and she cried in her arms for what felt like a very long time. Now, personally, I always drew Jaclyn comparisons with Michaela, not because of her rise to fame. Yes, they do have similar stories with their husbands dealing with addiction, but that's not the main reason I think people tend to compare them. I think people compare them because Jaclyn has been called out her entire career for doing shady things in business to get to the top. Her relationship with Morphe, constantly pushing that code to make as much money as possible, and her constant refusal to properly disclose a sponsorship. All things Michaela seems to be following in Jaclyn's footsteps on. Moving on, we need to talk about POV's launch in Canada and why it doesn't seem to be going over too well. POV announced their brand into the Canadian market last week, and fans were so excited to finally get their hands on Michaela's brand until they saw the prices. I mean, I think we all knew it was going to be expensive. Look at these prices. $54 for a moisturizer, $31 for a lip balm, $40 for a primer, $48 for a milky toner. It's Sephora prices for a brand that once said it was going to be affordable. But that's not the real issue here. If you buy the bundle, you can save some money, so that's a good thing. But where people were shocked was the price of shipping. It says you get free shipping when you spend over a certain amount, but then it changes to be $40 shipping, and that's because of taxes and duties, and who knows what extra duties you'll be hit with all the tariffs now. People were shocked to see this number and were leaving comments very upset, writing $200 for the bundle and then $30 in duties. can I get a PR box? $18 here in Ontario for duties and taxes, and that's just on the 3-product bundle. Will it be going to Sephora? Not a fan of the shipping cost. Another person said, girl, we can't afford the import fees. And clearly there's a huge discrepancy on how much people are paying in Canada for these import fees, because one person said, mine were only $7 for duty and taxes in Alberta. Someone else said that theirs was $27, another person said $8, and someone else said theirs was $22. And it's all a shocking number, but Michaela doesn't really have control over that. Shopping online in the States is so expensive for Canadians, especially now, so I think that's probably why we're seeing products sit on the Canadian website without selling out. I don't think there's been any kind of restock yet, and so far, nothing has sold out. I wonder if Michaela is going to try and get into a Canadian retail store, because she did like a comment that said, bring it to Shoppers. I could definitely see it coming to Shoppers one day. I have a feeling Michaela already has Ulta lined up for her brand in the States, and that's probably why they were treating her and Cody to that private chef that we talked about. So maybe Shoppers will be in POV's future for the Canadians. Finally, we have to talk about Michaela being labeled as AI by TikTok. One thing that Michaela has been called out for over and over again throughout the years is her use of editing and filters. Michaela edits all her pictures to the point that she doesn't even look like herself, and she puts filters over her videos that you can see glitch, and people call her out for it because she's reviewing makeup. She shouldn't be using a filter, and people find it pretty deceptive. Michaela has opened up about her insecurities before and how she becomes obsessed with how she looks because she's constantly watching herself on camera, and I get that. At the end of the day, Michaela is a victim of the beauty standards, but she's also pushing those same standards on her fans when she edits and uses filters. Michaela has never come out and actually admitted to using filters in her videos, but I mean, we can all tell. Well, TikTok recently exposed Michaela after they started labeling content they feel is AI generated. Michaela posted a video a few weeks ago getting ready, and TikTok labeled this video as containing AI generated media.
My husband is so thoughtful. He's taking me on the sweetest date I've probably ever heard. Every weekend, me and Cody go on a date, and it's different every time, and I'm like, he's gonna run out of ideas. The thing I told Cody is that I wanna be more active. I wanna go on more active dates. Basically, he noticed that I always point out people who ride bikes and express that I wish I had a bike.
Now, when I saw this label, I was confused because that was the first time I saw anything like that, and TikTok actually gives you a disclaimer of why some videos get this label. It reads, on TikTok, we require people to disclose realistic AI-generated content so that they can express their creativity while providing context for viewers. If you see undisclosed realistic AI-generated content, please report it. And then it says, what is the creator labeled as AI-generated label? And they wrote, this label appears on content that a creator indicates was completely AI-generated or significantly edited with AI. What is the AI-generated label? TikTok may automatically apply the AI-generated label to content that we identify as completely generated or significantly edited with AI. This happens when a creator uses TikTok AI effects or uploads AI-generated content that was made on certain platforms. Learn more about automatic AI labeling in our newsroom. Why does TikTok ask creators to label their AI-generated content? We encourage creators to disclose content that is completely AI-generated or significantly edited with AI. We require it for realistic images, audio, and video. We ask creators to label their AI-generated content to help prevent the spread of misleading information on TikTok by making clear to viewers which content is unaltered and which is altered or modified by AI technology. Which is very interesting. I mean, could TikTok have wrongfully labeled this video as being AI generated? Sure. But it also makes me wonder if Michaela is using one of those filters and TikTok is picking up on it and putting that label on her content. I haven't seen that label recently, so maybe Michaela stopped using whatever filter that was, or maybe it was wrongfully labeled. But it's definitely interesting. I personally think it's a good thing. If influencers are using filters, it should have a disclaimer, especially when it's influencers who are selling you things based on how they look. Changing your face with a filter can be misleading that way, so this label is a good thing to happen. Maybe it'll push influencers to be more real and to stop using so many filters and editing themselves. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.